The miles from home. Welcome. Okay.
Okay.
This could take a while.
Yep. I'm gonna slap you in the face. Okay, so we're here to review the movie A Face in the Crowd.
Starring Andy Griffith, his first film role before he was a household name with the Andy Griffith Show.
Yes. Also starring Don Knotts.
Don Knotts is not in this movie.
I know, right.
He would have provided some comic relief, though.
Yeah. I had never seen this movie before. John here texted me one night and he's like, "You gotta see this movie, it's just amazing." And I'm like, yeah. Because he's kind of always like that. He kept bringing it up and I had never heard of it before, and he said it's an unknown classic.
Yes, I think it's the most underrated film of the 20th century. That's my humble opinion. So the basic premise of A Face in the Crowd is that there's this woman named Marcia who has her own radio show in like a little hick town in Arkansas. And the radio show is called A Face in the Crowd. Basically, she goes around with her microphone and her little recorder and she talks to people on the street and just tries to get some sort of spontaneous, conversation, a little bit of dialogue to keep the radio show going.
So she comes across this, jail, and she starts interviewing people in this jail, which is really, it's kind of odd, but it's actually really hilarious to watch.
Well, it had a good, a good kick to get it going in the beginning. Here's a bunch of, rowdy guys in a jail, and there's a lot of serendipity, a lot of, random remarks off the wall here. Anyway, she runs into this drunk, played by Andy Griffith. His last name is Rhodes. We're never really quite sure what his first name is. It's given as Larry, Mac, Jack. We're not even sure he knows what his first name is. But he is like a wild, rowdy, roukhouse, just like larger-than-life personality. So she gets him to sing on her radio program, and he ends up being a big hit. So after he sings and he starts becoming a bigger hit and more well-known, things start to slowly get to his head a little bit, and he gets consumed in all the publicity and all the the fans and the stardom, but not just completely that. Also, he feels that as though he's being loved by all these people, and he wants to continue getting better, which isn't a bad thing, but he lets it take him too far. His ambition gets the better of him to the point where it just destroys him from the inside. Well, and it becomes kind of like a power lust sort of thing. So he starts out, she gives him a name, she calls him Lonesome Rhodes. It's kind of a folksy type thing, But he embraces that because he really is a lonely guy. And his hit song, Free Man in the Morning, came from him being in prison, and they said, if you sing, we'll let you be free, we'll let you out in the morning. So he kind of has this attitude of a new free man, but you can see that evolve over the movie into a harder, cynical, kind of a power-crazy guy. He just wants people to love him, and there's a couple of rather chilling scenes, if you will, of him, grabbing his servants and saying, you're gonna love me, and it's almost, it would be humorous viewed out of context, because it's you can't force someone to love you, but he literally believes that he's got what it takes to just make people should all just stop and listen to him.
A part I found interesting about his character was he's a real hypocrite. I mean, on the screen when he's in front of people, he's all real energetic and real into, selling the product and everything, and then as soon as the cameras are off, he's just bad-mouthing everybody and backstabbing people. And it just goes to show how, real people are like that. Yeah. And this movie was a little over-dramatized, in my opinion, but that's the way people can really be, and it just kind of struck me in an interesting way.
And I think it's kind of a movie showing you you should not really trust the media, because they are speaking with a two-faced. They're definitely, one side of you is this product is what you need, your life is incomplete without this product we're selling, but they probably don't even use it themselves, and there's a good deal of hypocrisy there. Also, he's singing Just a Closer Walk with Thee, Grant it Jesus is my plea. He's saying the family that prays together stays together. I got a Bible in my suitcase. He's got all these spiritual, but he does not care a bit. I mean, he's a drinker. He shows no morals at really any point in the movie. No. It's all just a double talk to get him into people's lives. And he eventually is exposed in the end of the film. We won't tell you how, in case you see it. But he is exposed, and the whole image just comes crashing down. So it's kind of a cautionary tale. You know, this could be you. Nothing lasts forever. You reap what you sow, and he certainly did.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. As far as filming goes, I thought the lighting was brilliant. It kind of starts out real bright. Has a lot of really bright scenes, a lot of daytime scenes, and as his character devolves, we get a lot of darkness until there's a scene where he's sitting on edge of Marcia's bed, talking about how powerful he is. You can see his whole face, except for the way the shadows are. You can't see his eyes; they disappear in the darkness, and you just hear his voice, and it's almost eerie. Yeah, it's very, very effective.
Yeah, the last 20 minutes of this film is when you really, if you know how films are made and stuff, is when you start to realize some stuff that they've been doing all along that you finally pick up on, and a lot of it's shadowing. And it's really cool because shadowing in films symbolizes a struggle between the light and the dark inside of you. And there's a couple scenes where a character will be sitting here and one side of their face will be bright and the other side will be dark.
Right.
And you can see, and it's in a scene where they're struggling with something. And I like things like that. Let's talk about content in this movie. There was a couple things in it that I was kind of surprised at and were somewhat a little risque for 1957 when this movie was made.
For sure.
I wouldn't watch it with the children. It's nothing awful, but a lot of people, when they see a black and white film, they go, "Oh, family friendly."
Yeah, not always the case.
Yeah, and in this movie, it's not the case. But I do recommend watching it. If you're at an age where you can understand.
I think it's not so much as what's shown on screen, but as what's implied. I mean, there's, clearly some affairs implied, never shown. It's more of a thematic elements type of thing.
Right.
I just don't think kids are going to grasp totally what's going on. The film has to be taken as a whole, content-wise. It's not like there's a couple parts that need skipping. It's just that there's some overall themes. He's clearly not a moral person, but it's not glamorized. I wouldn't say his immorality.
It just shows the plight of man.
Yeah, it kind of takes you to. It shows sin taking a man to its natural end, which is destruction. So,
directing wise, it was really good. I've never seen anything the director's done other than this, but it was really well done, and it surprised me for a movie that was that old. I kept watching it, going, "Wow, they actually could make good films back then." Yeah. Often we get caught up in some of the better films of today, and I'm not saying every film's great, but the films that are well made. Right. And you forget that back then, in the golden age of cinema, that they could still produce and make actually really good films that weren't cheesy and hokey.
Right. And this one still felt very bracing, very modern, very, very self-aware. So, watching it, I was like, wow, that's why I call it the most underrated film of the 20th century, because, you get a lot of films that get a lot of attention. Lawrence of Arabia, Sound of Music, It's a Wonderful Life, Gone with the Wind. And then this one, which is so, refreshingly satirical and sharp and clear, it just kind of fell through the cracks somehow. So I'd recommend. It's a hidden gem, as they say. One thing I would mention is Andy Griffith does sing a couple of songs in the film, and I loved that they didn't fall into that trap of old filmmaking with the terrible lip syncing.
It's all live.
It's all live. He gets that guitar out, strums it, and he just lets go, and it's it feels like you're there.
Since we're talking about Andy Griffith, let's just talk about his performance for a minute.
Yes.
You hear the word Andy Griffith, and what do you think of? Mayberry, The Andy Griffith Show, Andy Taylor. But you should just watch this movie just for his performance alone, because it was really quite amazing, and he's got tremendous range. And I wish he would have gone into other stuff that was really diversified from what he did end up going into. I
can't look at him the same anymore. After seeing him as the meek, mild-mannered sheriff in the Andy Griffith Show, which he does excellent at, but he's just all over the place. I mean, he's got power, he's got range, he's got, terrifying emotions that he displays very, very well. And this is prior to doing the show. So, I almost felt robbed after seeing it. How come he didn't fully tap that potential for the rest of his career? But it was stunning, and I thought the supporting cast did well.
Yeah, I mean, the rest of the cast is good, but because Andy Griffith he almost steals the show.
He's pretty overpowered.
Yeah, I mean, he is the main actor and everything, but he just completely steals the movie. Yeah. So,
definitely worth seeing. Even if you may not like the film, but just for his performance alone, it blew me away from the first time he appears on screen, and kick him in the ribs, and he wakes up on the floor of the jail, and he's got this fiery look in his eye. I was like, whoa, this is not the Andy Griffith of Mayberry.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
I can't exactly say I would recommend seeing this movie. I did just say that I would recommend seeing it just for his performance, but that's because I like movies. But if I didn't, I wouldn't really recommend this movie because just because it's
he can't decide.
It's slow, and I just don't like old films that are slow and boring to me. That's just my opinion. But if you are gonna watch it, it is going to feel a little slow and boring if you don't like movies like this, but sit through it because the last 20 minutes of this movie is just amazing and really well done, and it's worth the wait.
I would say I would totally recommend. I would totally recommend it. It's not a family film, so like you're not going to get popcorn out and watch this with the family, but to me it was about the experience. I love old movies because a lot of them had a lot more depth. They didn't have to be distracted by a lot of CGI and a lot of special effects and, rock'em sock'em action. They had to take time to layer the personalities of the characters and the scripts and everything. And I just think this film is so deep. Like, I've seen it 3 or 4 times now and got something different each and every time. And I think it got better with repeated viewings. So I would totally recommend it if you're a film buff because you're going to see something you've never seen before. It's unique, it's different, and it's not your typical movie. So I would say I found it very intriguing, and I got caught up from the first minute of it.
Well, and what was I going to say? Don't even remember. Whatever.
Sorry. Just that.
I would rate it personally for me out of 10 stars of likability. I got maybe a 5 or a 6. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I did enjoy it, but partially it was because of him. Because we were both sitting together watching it.
I make life more enjoyable.
Yeah, he does. So, but if I would have just been sitting and watching it alone, I wouldn't have really cared too much for it. Other than Andy Griffith's performance, like I said, is just so good.
I would say, out of 10 stars, it's up there for me. I mean, I'm thinking 8 or 9, because after watching this 3 or 4 times, I was like, this thing's on my top 10. It is just different, it's unique, it's fresh. It's a very hard-edged message at the multimedia generation today, and this is way ahead of its time. It's like, you cannot trust everything you hear on television. It's a matter of, in this age, even you're watching this review on YouTube, the multimedia shapes public opinion. We're attempting to shape your opinion right now.
Yeah, because he wants to give it 9 stars and I want to give it 5. So you decide.
Yeah, that's right. Everyone's got their own opinion. Opinions are like armpits. Everyone has 2 and they both stink.
Especially yours.
Yeah, well, hard day. That's not a good comment.
Hard day. He wasn't working, I was.
That's right.
Hard day.
Yeah, my hard days are the leisure ones because I end up spending time with them and it's...
Oh, you're saying that's what makes it a hard day?
Yes, that is what makes it a hard day, spending time with this one here. No. Anyway.
Oh, to wrap up the review, I give it 5 stars.
I would give it 8. 8. I really, really like this movie. It's classic.
So that's 2 different opinions. Check it out for yourself. And as always, with my movie reviews, if I'm doing a review on a movie and why do you do this? You did that last time.
I figured it would be good continuity.
Okay.
For continuity.
Right. So as always, if you don't even think about it.
As always, if you don't like the content of this movie, don't get mad at us. We did not make the movie. We are merely...
we're just spewing our thoughts on the film.
That's right. Stream of consciousness. We both saw the film and thought we ought to share it. And hopefully we, introduce something that you may have never heard of,
So look at the content before you watch it, if you're worried about that. On a trusted site that the movie is called A Face in the Crowd.
A Face in the Crowd.
And check it out, because it is worth watching at least once.
Yes.
So, I'm Aaron.
And I'm Jonathan.
And check out my channel once in a while. And I'll see you guys around for watching. Goodbye.
Thank you for watching.
Do you have any famous quotes you want to say at the end?
Let me see. It is better to ride 10 miles in a Rolls Royce than to walk 100 miles. Think about it.
Anything's better than walking 100 miles.
That isn't very pithy, is it? Alright. Show me a man that speaks with a curly tongue, and I'll show you a bird that collects feathers. Sneaks up on you, doesn't it? Don't you wish it had? It doesn't make any sense. It's not supposed to.
I don't hear it. I don't...
No, it's random. It's random.
I'm still trying to grab...
He's great. Can you tell I'm deeper than he is? I'm just kidding. No, okay. That's fine.